shut you out.
We are everything but perfect. We both have a million flaws.
And there are days that I wanna give up, but I won't, because I'm gonna fight for you, and nothing's ever gonna burn this down. I'm gonna fight for you till the breath in my lungs runs out. Our love is something I don't wanna lose, so every single day what I choose, I'm gonna fight for you. Oh, I'm gonna fight for you.
I know how to be your champion. I know what to say to build you up.
I know how to make you feel pretty. I know how to make you feel loved.
If you ever start to wonder whether it's still true,
Let me tell you once again what I said when I said I do. Oh, I'm gonna fight for you, and nothing's ever gonna burn this down. I'm gonna fight for you till the breath in my lungs runs out. Our love is something I don't wanna lose, so every single day what I choose, I'm gonna fight for you. Oh, I'm gonna fight for you.
we know that we're better together. Nothing we can't do.
And if we keep God here at the center, there's nothing we can't get through. I'm gonna fight for you, and nothing's ever gonna burn this down. I'm gonna fight for you till the breath in my lungs runs out. Our love is something I don't wanna lose, so every single day what I choose, I'm gonna fight for you. Oh, I'm gonna fight for you. Yeah, I'm gonna fight for you. Oh, I'm gonna fight for you.
Man, that song is incredible. I actually had the privilege of sharing my story earlier this week, and some of you know it, and some of you maybe haven't heard it or heard it yet, and this song just speaks to me because I feel like if there is anything to fight for, it's your marriage, it's those relationships. We have a really special couple coming to share with you today, and it's on the topic of love and respect. And I just want all of you as women in the room to know this is something that's important in every relationship that you have. This is not only for couples who are married. This is for how you interact with your dad or grandfather or uncle or son or coworker or boss or your brother. It's those relationships. This is going to just help us see a little bit more of the interworkings of how a man is wired up. This couple that's coming to share, I met years ago. I'm thinking about 12 years ago, and we were leaders in the youth group here at Northridge. They will have been married 43 years in August. So they've been married 2 times as long as they've been single. So I think we're going to hear a little bit of good wisdom here. They have 3 stunningly beautiful daughters. They have 2 stunningly beautiful granddaughters. They've got girls coming out from their ears, I think. But they also have 1 son-in-law and 1 future son-in-law on the way. And they have been leaders in the marriage ministry at Northridge for about 8 years. So I want to introduce you this morning, Tony and Linda Defelice.
me, you know, when I was in high school, I remember looking, I was checking Linda out, and I says, oh Lord, if you could just, like, get me with a blonde. And I didn't want to say Linda by name because, you know, I didn't want to tell God, like, what to do. So, of course, and then when we met and we dated, and eventually we got married in that, how about getting me a blonde? Prayer got stuck in some loop because I ended up with 3 daughters, ended up with 2 granddaughters, and ended up here with all you. So in some God-honoring way, he had an idea and a plan for me that he just soaked me in with all these women, and here I am. So.
And of course, us girls always tell him there was a reason God did that, because you have learned so much from us women, and you've grown so much.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you enjoyed Grace and Reed, Molly and Mike. I saw their interview the very first day. This isn't a second interview they've done. I saw their first interview the day that Fight For You came out on the radio, and honestly, they actually thought that it was so raw and so real that nobody would like it. And so when it hit the charts and it just went out fast, they were shocked. And they gave all the credit in this interview that God is working through this, because we never thought this song was going to be that big. So we chose this simply because it has such a strong message of love and respect, being that each of them say when they get up in the morning, they choose to build each other up rather than tear each other down. And as women, I can tell you that I was a big-time negative thinker. I always saw the glass half empty instead of half full, and that went over into our relationship, and that hurt us deeply. So what we do in Marriage Builders, our very first exercise when we start a Marriage Builder session, is we ask each of them, either on their phone or to take a 3x5 card, and each day write something positive and uplifting about their spouse. Now, if they're in crisis, which we see many, if they're in crisis, we simply ask them to think back and think about some days when you were doing well and what you appreciated about your spouse. So that's kind of a little bit why we chose Grace and Reed in this song. Love and Respect is one of our most favorite studies. We have done 4 small groups leading Love and Respect, and in Marriage Builders, we've done Love and Respect twice. So you're gonna we have to get through this kind of fast. Love and Respect is actually a 14-week study. So you are talking with us 28 hours. So we have, we don't have anywhere near that. So you can get on Emerson Eckridge Love and Respect website and learn a lot. The book is phenomenal, and we in Marriage Builders will probably do Love and Respect in the next year or so.
So love and respect comes from of course, the Bible, which is Ephesians 5:33, where it says in there too, it says, men, love your wives as you love yourself. And man, as guys, we don't have any trouble loving ourselves. If we could just project that onto our wife. And it says in there, the women, or the wives, he says, respect your husband. So one of the #1 questions that women always ask me in Marriage Builders is, how do I respect my husband? They just don't get exactly what that means. And there's languages that both of us have, okay? Just like if you speak Spanish and you speak Russian, of course, the two of you aren't going to be able to communicate very well. Well, that in a married relationship, there are languages very, very similar to that. And Eckridge calls that speaking in the pink, hearing in the pink, and seeing in pink. And for men, it's seeing in the blue, speaking in the blue, seeing in the blue.
So, ladies, when we think, and this was my problem, I thought that if Tony truly loved me, he would know what I was thinking. And he would know what he should do to show me love. He just should know. The problem is he's looking through blue and I'm looking through pink. And there's a major difference in that. Let's do a little example. Okay, when us women say, I have nothing to wear, we're talking about, I have nothing new to wear.
And us guys, when we talk about, man, I've got nothing to wear, that means my stuff is all dirty on the floor or it's in the washer somewhere. And I've got nothing clean, is what that means. I got plenty of stuff.
So as much as we are so different, and we are, neither one of us is wrong, we're just different. So when we talk about love and respect, we're going to talk about how women, they just want love. And then...
Yep, we want respect. And so what does that look like in the grand scheme of these relationships? So one of those things, and it's the big question that women always ask, what's it look like to respect my husband? And we're going to give you some practical stuff. This is what Linda and I struggled with. In fact, it was 34 years into marriage when Linda finally knew that there had to be something better in a relationship than what we were experiencing. And she literally drugged me to this marriage builders class. And I don't mean she drugged me like she dragged me. I mean, she gave me drugs. That's how bad I didn't want to come to the thing seriously. And that night we had a fight, and that was the first time in 34 years I ever slept on a couch. So there was some deep hurt. There was stuff, she rewound the tape on me all the way back to nearly when we got married. So I thought, who are you even talking about? It isn't me. This is how disconnected we were, and me not understanding her feelings. So the respect part of it, ladies, when you go to confront your husbands or your friend or your dad or any man that you're in some kind of a relationship with, men are weird in this area because you girls put it all in your head. You think it all through. You've got it all. You know how you feel, and you want that feeling to come from us. Well, we don't have that about us. We have little boxes. Our brains are made up of boxes, and like when we're watching the game, we're in that box. When we're working, we're in that box. When we're fighting with you, we're in that box. We can get out of that fight with you box and get into our game box with no trouble transitioning from one to the other. It doesn't bother us. We go all day and not think about it.
And ladies, oh boy, we got the spaghetti brain. I mean, if we have a fight with our husband in the morning, that colors our whole day. At work, when we go out to lunch with the girls, anything, and then when we come home, we're still thinking about what we thought about and how can we communicate how we feel. So here's a man getting in his work box or his nothing box, which they actually do have a nothing box. When you say, what are you doing? And they say nothing, they do have a nothing box. But we are so wired and so spaghetti brained that everything affects our emotions. We are relationship oriented. That's how God made us. And so to understand the difference between how your husbands are seeing things and how we see things, we have to start with what we all end up on, and that would be the crazy cycle. Okay, without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect, he reacts without love.
Okay, so what this looks like, we'll start with me. I do something that Linda doesn't like, which was kind of most of the time. And she would confront me with that. Okay, so now she's mad at me. So now I get mad at her for being mad at her for something I did. And so then now I say something back to her because what she said to me sounded disrespectful. So now I'm going to say something back to her that sounds really unloving to her because I'm speaking through the blue glasses, she's hearing through pink glasses. So when I say something that sounds unloving to her, that hurts her more. So then she retaliates with something that is even more disrespectful to me. So while she's saying that disrespectful thing, all I'm hearing is the disrespectful thing. I'm not hearing her words at all. I don't even know what she's saying. All I'm doing is I'm thinking of the next unloving thing that I'm going to return back to her to shut her down and to shut her off. And so that you get into that cycle and you go around and around. And how do you get off that thing, that spinning wheel? Well, what guys will do, like if we're with our guy friends, you know, we can push and shove and get tough and man up and get brutal, but we don't do that with our wives. What we do is we back away. We go into maybe our little man cave, or we go, what I would do is I'd go down into my workshop, and then here she comes right behind me. Oh man, that's the disrespecting thing. It's like, hey, just back off. I don't need to have this right now. I want to stay away from this thing. And you gals, including Linda, she would confront. You confront your guys to connect. You want to connect. You want to stay fresh. You want to know where we're at with this thing. Let's get it over with, because I don't like this separation because you're relational. We're not relational in that way. We want to back off, give you some space. I don't want to go here or now with that. And as she would push on me and continue to want to drag that out of me, it would get, you know, hey, not now. Just get away and forget it. So that's partially how you get off that crazy cycle. So how do you return to some kind of relationship where you could begin talking about what went on? Well, most of us, we don't, and we didn't. That just went down into the, you know, pushed down into storage, more or less. And that storage, Linda shoved that down for 34 years. We did that.
Now, ladies, we sometimes think if we don't say anything, then there won't be any conflict. Oh, we're not going to say anything, and we'll just let it pass, and then we won't have this big fight. But it never goes away. It gets shoved down, and at 34 years, a volcano blew big time. And I told him everything in the past 34 years I didn't like about him. When he did that, I didn't like him. And let me tell you, that was an onslaught that none of us would want to experience.
Yeah, and the worst of it that she did that I thought was so disrespectful is, you know, we had been coming here for a couple of years. And if you guys know Pastor Nick Phillips, well, we used to do a men's early morning Bible study here. And of course, since I was outgoing, I did a lot of talking and guys were quiet at 6 o'clock in the morning. Well, I got to kind of a little bit of a relationship with Nick. I mean, I'd see him in the hall, I'd see him at the Bible study, we'd talk, he'd always call on me to answer questions. So I'm thinking, hey, you know what, Nick thinks I'm pretty cool. When she told me she called Nick Phillips' office about marriage problems that we were having, I flipped out. I go, you gotta be kidding, I was so embarrassed. Nick thinks I'm cool, and you called and told me about a marriage problem? I was ticked. That's kind of what made me sleep on the couch. So later, after we took the facilitator training class, which Nick led up, and I told him this little story, he says, oh, Tony, you should have got mad about that. I knew you were a mess. And he does read you like that, so.
In our 8 years in Marriage Builders, we have not only led, but we do the studies. So as being leaders in Marriage Builders, all it's done is built our relationship even stronger, because we had to do the studies with all of the people. So we have learned how to stay off the crazy cycle. And we will give you an example. Like we said before, we fight, he'd go down to the shop, I'd go in my room, I'd come after him, we gotta solve this, and it just made things worse. And believe me, women, we do not like have 0 fights. I mean, we argue, we do, but the key now is when we argue, we don't deeply hurt each other like we used to. So let me give you an example. Just the other day, Tony is very busy. He runs his own business. He's also a building inspector out in Lyon Township. We live in South Lyon. And so he keeps very busy. And things are crazy busy the last couple weeks. And we happen to be going to, I don't know how many of you have been to Comedy for a Cause on the east side at Woodside Church. We had a plan to go with a couple other couples to go to see Comedy for a Cause. So we went with these other couples. We had a great night. We ate out. You know, we were before the show started, we were talking and talking. And
so these guys have been bugging me to do this it's called Love Inc. It's all great. I don't know if you've heard of it. You pick furniture up from one place who wants to give it away, and you take it to somebody who needs furniture. And it's the first Saturday every month. And they've been bugging me for months. It's just like I've been kind of putting them off. So we're sitting down in the seats waiting for the show to start, and he says, hey, you want to do that with us tomorrow? We're going to go do that. Now, without kind of thinking, and this is what has always got me in trouble, is I promised one thing to Linda, and then somebody else asked me, and I jumped there. Well, our daughter's getting married, and we were having the bridal shower last weekend. And I was supposed to go down and check out the space, you know, look at the room, see if we need plugs and, you know, the guy stuff, so we know where to put the coffee pots and how we're going to lay the tables out, do all that. So then these guys are asking me right there at the spur of the moment, without even thinking, I just says, oh yeah, that would be awesome. It's like, yeah, I'm kind of not doing anything tomorrow, and it hit me, and I thought, oh, crud. What did I
Now,
say?
earlier in our life, I would have been like, Miss Control, you know you have that stuff to do with me tomorrow, and I didn't care. What is funny stuff? I would just say, no, you cannot do that, and that would embarrass him, very disrespectful. I have learned to not be his mother. I am his wife. He has got to decide his time. And so he's saying this, and I'm thinking, okay, just this morning you told me you were so mad because you got caught on a job, you didn't get the oil changed on the truck, you didn't do this, and this, and now you're adding something to your schedule. But I thought, hey, that's up to him, you know, that's up to him. The other thing that feeds into this, ladies, is my love language is quality time. Now, the last 2 weeks, he's been crazy busy, so I have gotten no time, no quality time. So I never said a word. I let him do what he did.
Okay, so this thing's supposed to end at noon, you know, which, yeah, I told her, I'll be back at noon. Well, noon is like when you're delivering the last thing of furniture. Then you gotta come back to the place, unhook the trailer. You gotta go to lunch with all the guys, because you just did this big thing, you know, guys do that stuff together. So it's like 2 o'clock when I get home. So she's down here looking at the space, which I was supposed to be with. And she called me and I said, hey, I'm back home, I'm all done here. And she says, okay. I said, I'm gonna just hang out here and chill for a minute because we gotta go shopping and do some stuff. So she came back, and the whole time I'm thinking, oh my gosh, she didn't say anything. Whoa! And I'm thinking, like, she must have, oh, well, then she really didn't think that I needed to be there. She kind of handled it. And I'm thinking, all right, this is kind of cool. So then I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything, and she didn't say anything, so.
And ladies, needless to know, I admitted later that I was not happy with him adding something to the schedule. But I came down here, looked at the space. I left my phone in the car in case he called, because I was afraid of what I'd say if he called. I left it, and then I got in the car and I prayed. I said, Lord, I am not his mother, I am his wife. I cannot control what he decides to do. It's got to come from him. He's got to want to do what I ask him to do, and if he doesn't, then why would you want somebody with an attitude to do it for you anyway? I prayed and I said, please lift this off of me. That's when he called, and I said, okay. He says, I'm gonna, you know, rest a little bit from picking up furniture, and we can go shopping and do the whole thing. I got home, we did everything that I wanted him to do, and then I admitted to him the process and the thinking I had to go through so that I didn't act like how I used to act. Now,
You guys, I'm telling you, that was so powerful to me, because it made me want to fight for her. You know how the song says, I will fight for you? Because she used the restraint that she prayed about. And that really is what made the change in me. Because the way we used to fight before, she would confront me on what I did. Okay, so now I did something. She's hurt or mad, and anger really comes from the hurt. So then that would make me mad that she's confronting me because I goofed up. And so then we start the crazy cycle. This really energized me. Thus, which is called the energizing cycle. Okay, so now she showed me respect. And I was so willing and so able to give and show her love. And me showing her love let her be able to give me respect again. And so you're on that cycle of building up. So the question that everybody asks, who is the first one to do that when you're on one of those stupid, crazy cycles? Who stops that, changes their mind, and energizes their spouse? And Actually, the answer is whoever is the most spiritually mature at the time. Because there are times I'm very spiritually mature and I love doing that to Linda. And then there's times I'm not very, she's more spiritually mature. This was one of those times that she was spiritually mature and she used it. And it really energized me. In fact, this whole thing started off years ago. Linda got into a woman's group. And she, of course, you know how you gals talk about your husband or your friends. And this gal put her arms around Linda and says, you know what, we're going to pray for Tony. Now what I would do is I'd come home every single Sunday and I'd pack up my stuff. And I belonged to this gun club. And I would go out every Sunday after church and I'd go to this thing all afternoon. And so, of course, she would push back, you know, it was just the other Sunday. You have to go again. And it's like, yeah, I got to go again. Now I'm going to, yeah, you're going to push me, I want to go, and I want to do it. So then all of a sudden, I don't know, out of the clear one day, she would say, hey, okay, well, when you get back, we could maybe have a cookout or something. Okay, we started to think. So then it's a couple Sundays, she's real nice about it. And I'm starting to think, oh, what's going on? She knows the combination of the gun safe. Okay, so I'm getting scared. So anyway, she's praying, and I go one Sunday, and the guy that runs the thing comes up and says, hey, Tony, you've been coming here quite a while. When are you going to start getting into the, you know, the competition part of this thing? And I'm going, I don't know, when are the competitions? He's like, well, here, we have a schedule. So he sets it down in front of me, and I'm looking. I kid you not, you guys. Easter Sunday, Mother's Day, Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. I go, don't you guys have a life? I said, I go home with this schedule, my wife will shoot me with my own gun. So it kind of turned me off. And you know, I never went back there. So I come home, and one Sunday, we come home from church, she says, okay, so what time are you going? I said, you know what, I'm not going. She goes, what? I said, yeah, I don't think I'm going to go up there anymore. And I said, those guys are kind of weird. Anybody that does all that without their family, I mean, I was a fairly family guy. I just wanted to do that one little thing. Come to find out, when I find out, she disclosed to me that she had been praying, that her and her girls had been praying that something like that was a God thing. And I thought, I don't believe it. So it energized me, and that began how we started to understand each other's needs. And then, of course, I told you about her drugging me into becoming a marriage members. And then we learned about love languages, and we learned about communication skills. And it's just been an unbelievable process.
Now, his love language, which is a lot of men's, is words of affirmation. And whatever your love language is, like mine's quality time, that's what you try to do to your spouse, because that's your love language. You just figure, hey, that's what they need too. And so we had to talk about what our expectations were concerning our love languages. I hope that you all, if you don't know your love language, that you will find the thing that speaks love to you. And there's 5 of them: affirmation, touch, gifts, quality time, and acts of service. And acts of service is real high on mine. So when Tony cleans up the dishes or does anything like that, that speaks love to me, along with quality time. They probably intersect, because I'm thinking he's taken away from something he wants to do and he's helping me out in the house. This is the energizing cycle, but before we get out of the crazy cycle, I just want to tell you what Drs. Les and Leslie Parrott said. They are out of Seattle, and they've written many, many books on marriage. And what they say is, if you want to kill your marriage quickly, have an affair. But if you want to bludgeon it to death slowly, criticize. So keep that in mind, because I had to. All right, this is the energizing cycle. What we talked about. His love motivates her respect. Her respect motivates his love. And I think it's probably pretty hard for you women who, because I know where I came from, it's like, okay, the question is, why do I, as a woman, have to start everything and do everything? Why? And in fact, it's one thing I'm going to ask God when I get to heaven. How come you put all this on women? But because we're relational, and God made us that way, it's a little bit easier for us to understand what we have to do to make our relationships better.
And actually, when Linda did that to me, what irritated me, when she did that whole thing about praying for me and it all came around, what irritated me is my understanding of a man of God, the leader of my family. That really should have been my role. I should have taken that role in saying, hey, you know what? Let's talk about how you feel, what you're thinking, and what do you need from me. But I tell you what, I don't know where you'd get that information. I mean, I certainly didn't get that from my family of origin. My father never did that with my mother. And you grow up with those things, and that's why you don't understand how that works as a man. Now, to my good, what I would say, what men would do, we would run back into a burning building to grab you guys and our kids and probably even our pets. But that's how men are wired. I mean, it's not wrong, it's just different. That's just some of the differences between men and women. And I mean, God created us for this very reason, so we would have this tension. And the tension then can be relieved through the knowledge of understanding each other, and man, that brings you so much closer. If you guys, if you ladies are waiting for your husbands to fill your emotional needs, and you're going to get angry and you're going to drag it out of him so you feel better, you're never going to get there. I'll tell you, you'll never get there. You have got to almost like take a breath, and I know this is a lot to ask, because I know a lot of times, just like I heard Linda, and it only came, she had never thought of this herself. I mean, this came from another godly woman who planted this in her, and she matured into it, as I have. But it's just like, you know, when you get a flat on your car and you put that little donut on, does anybody know what is that big yellow sticker that says on the wheel? It says maximum 45 miles an hour. You're not going to go to Florida on that donut, you know, if you had a flat. That's not for going 70. So you have to, it's just temporary. It's something you're going to put on there to get you from place A to place B so you can get the real tire fixed. And sometimes that's the caution we have to take in our relationships. Let's look at that thing as like, okay, we have to go slow here for a bit. I'm not going to get my needs right away, but you know what? When somebody says you have to work on yourself, I hate that, work on myself. What do you mean? I don't even know what that meant, you got to work on yourself. I'm just fine. There's nothing wrong with me. It's her. She's always just nagging day and night. The working on yourself is when you develop this relationship and you polish this with your Heavenly Father through His Son, Jesus Christ. When you do that, ladies, you will be so attractive to your man, he won't be able to stay away from you. That is exactly what Linda did to me. She became, when she stopped nagging me, she became so attractive again to me that it's like something's going on and I like it. You know, she's not nagging me, but more than that, there was something about her that was just, it reminded me of when we were dating. We were married for 9 years, and I don't think we hardly had a fight, and that's really not good. That's not good because you're not growing. That fighting is okay. Like even now, and I know you guys won't believe it, I do aggravate her still sometimes. But it gives you an opportunity to begin to talk and to build a relationship. And at first, it's hard. I mean, we had these books like this that we were doing for our class that we were facilitating. So every Sunday night, we'd get together and we'd go through and we'd answer all the questions like that. And so one of the Sundays, she's filling out the answers, and it's just a real short, it's almost like a yes or no kind of an answer, you know, and I filled mine in and I'm waiting for her, and I look at her and she's writing, you know, across the thing, and she's down the side, she's coming across the bottom. I go, what are you doing? It's just the one little tiny blank answer. What are you thinking of? Well, you know, I'm more creative and expressive, and I took the book, I looked down on the table, I walked into the kitchen, I says, okay, just go there tomorrow and run the whole stupid thing yourself. So I'm sitting for a minute, I'm thinking I can shut it, sit down. So I came back over, I sat down, I says, hey, I'm sorry, that was stupid. Okay, we were on number 2, where were you? And it's just like she could have inflamed that thing. Yeah, you big idiot, you had to throw the book and get all stupid, and we're here, we're supposed to lead the thing. And it's just, that's the difference between men and women, yeah.
So what's really important is that you work as a team. You all have children. You need to work as a team when you make decisions about your children. Ladies, you should not be making every decision for your children. You should look to your husband and say, what do you think? We've got this decision to make. I honor your insight into this. And I had to start doing that, and believe me, after I stepped back and let Tony take the lead, it was a relief. That's a lot of work on us to raise our kids. Some of you go to work, to clean the house, to make your husband happy. I was like, oh, I am so glad he can lead all he wants. So we worked very hard at becoming a team in our family. Before we do some final statements, we want to tell you, and this is going to sound weird to you because we had to work hard at this, but we're going to tell you what happens and what we now say because of love and respect, the study of love and respect, what we say to each other when, say I say to Tony, I say to him, what do you think you're doing today? You were going to do this for me.
I would just say, sweetheart, did I say or do something that sounded unloving? Because what you just said really sounded disrespectful to me.
And that's because we're asking a question. I was disrespectful and he's asking, was there something that was unloving that brought that up? So he's taking part of the onus on that, and he's asking the question. And that's how we resolve so much of our conflicts now. There are a few things in the Love and Respect book that I pulled out. One of them is, if we don't cheer our husband's successes, will we be there for them when they fail? The key to succeeding in marriage is not finding the right person. It's learning to love and respect the one you found. Proverbs 1 says, a wise woman builds her house, but a foolish woman tears hers down. Remember, how you treat your husband in your home has a huge ripple effect on your children, on your extended family, on your neighbors, everyone around you. It's a huge ripple effect.
And you ladies don't realize how much power you have over us. And I'm not talking about just with sex, I mean just with your words. Because sure, we're tough and we're rough and we can do stuff, but I mean to tell you, you guys could bury us with words in our emotions. I mean, Linda used to crush me down so bad, I couldn't even think of anything to say. In fact, I used to get so mad at her, I'd say, why weren't you a lawyer? Because the argument that you could fester up and destroy somebody with, you know, I mean, I would be so angry, I couldn't even think anything to say back to her, and sometimes we'd get so mad. And so, really, go easy on your girls. I mean, it almost sounds kind of sissified, but you do have a lot of power over us in terms of how you can crush our feelings. And that gentleness from you will eventually bring gentleness from us. And I know, guys, this is not in our purview at all. In fact, you know, Dr. Laura Schlesinger used to be on a radio, she used to say, look, men are so simple, their needs are so few, sex and a sandwich in that order, and girls, you're good to go. The problem with that, and I had a lot of sandwiches, let me tell you. So, the problem with that is that sex for you is an emotional thing. For us, it's a physical release. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't get all wrapped up if I hurt your feelings if I'm going to have sex with Linda. It's like, hey, okay. You know, she's all about the emotional thing before she's going to really release herself fully to me. And that's the thing that we don't understand. And that's the part of that relation building. And there's exercises and there are little things that we can do to develop those things. And Marriage Builders is 6:30 to 8:30 Monday night.
Before we let you go to your questions, there have been a few books that have really, really just spoke to me, besides my Bible, of course. But this Power of a Praying Wife. They have so many of these. Power of a Praying Parent, Power of a Praying Mother. I mean, there's so many of them, but this Power of a Praying Wife is awesome. We also, Gary Thomas was here for a marriage seminar a couple years ago. He's got Sacred Marriage, which basically is what he said is he asked the question, what if God gave us marriage not so much to make us happy, but to make us holy? All right, ladies, we have enjoyed being here. You're going to have the questions up here, and thank you so much. We enjoyed your attention.